You are good to go, Tracy. Thank you.
Oh, welcome to this meeting for the Evaluation Committee for request for request for proposal, RFP 25-00149, Federal Lobbying Services, being held today, March 19, 2025. The time is now 10:43. We're on the 25th floor of the county center. The meeting will be conducted as a hybrid, in part by means of communications media technology in Hillsborough County. Provisions have been made for any member of the public desiring to have access to view this meeting. The purpose of the evaluation meeting is to allow evaluation committee members an opportunity to review, discuss, and score the proposals received in response to the subject RFP. Active participation in the meeting will be limited to the evaluation committee members and advisors. My name is Tracy Edwards. I am the senior procurement buyer. And let me have the committee members introduce themselves.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Beth Cardenas. I'm the Director of Government Relations and Strategic Services.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Ramin Kuzikanani. I'm the Chief Information and Innovation Administrator.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Carl Harness. I'm the Chief Human Services Administrator for Hillsborough County.
My name is Daria Dixon. I'm the Procurement Operations Coordinator here with Hillsborough County.
So the score, I'm so sorry.
That's quite all right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Digna Alvarez. I'm with Government Relations, handling the federal portfolio. However, in this capacity today, I'm the project manager and I will be taking notes for the executive summary. Thank you.
Scoring of proposals will be on a consensus basis. Committee chair will lead the evaluation, one proposal at a time. Final consensus scoring will be forwarded to the department depending the recap and award recommendation. So we can get started.
Thank you, Tracy. So again, my name is Beth Cardenas, and I'm going to serve as chair of the committee today in the review for the RFP for federal lobbying services. We had 8 proposals that we're going to review today. We will go through them alphabetically. So I will start. The first proposal is from Alcalde and Fay. And just off the top, to let everyone know, we are reviewing 3 different criteria: qualifications, past performance, and prospective approach. And we're going to review those 3 criteria for each proposal. So with that, as I said, we're going to start with Alcalde and Fay, and I will open it up to the committee for scoring and comments.
I thought the firm was very qualified. I gave them a score of 28. I thought that the submission actually met the attributes that we were looking for. And I thought the presentation of qualification was excellent.
I too thought that the firm submitted a nicely qualified application. I gave them on qualifications also a score of 28. Decades of experience in various parts of the state, different size entities throughout the state. So that probably, and they had some, familiarity here in the area with Hillsborough County. So 28 was also my score in the qualification area. Apologize, I thought I had this off.
Thank you. I concur with you both, and I should have mentioned this off the top too, that each section we're going to be reviewing is out of a total 30 points. So when we're talking about 28, etc., it's out of a total of 30. And I concur with both of your comments. I gave them a 25 out of 30 points. They clearly had extensive lobbying experience at the federal level, which is what we're looking for here. Connections and both with agencies, with legislature, with the executive branch. And I gave them a 25 and concur that they do have extensive qualifications. With that, we can go on to past performance, or there's something else.
You have to have citizens only with that,
Thank you, sorry.
and Tracy's recording.
So we're like 3 points away. Essentially. Are we, can you get close to us or?
So you both gave a 28, I gave a 25. We want to say 27,
I'm fine
or
with
if
that.
y'all want to stick
I
with
was
28, I'd be.
I was thinking 27 would be
I'm good with
fair.
So, for Alcalde and Fay for qualifications, the consensus is a 27. With that, we'll move on to past performance, again, out of a total 30 points. Now that y'all start with your number and any comments.
This is Carl again, past performance. Again, I gave them a 28. I thought some of the examples they had were pretty solid. Again, work they've done with, Hillsborough Community College, Miami-Dade, Seminole County, Homestead, Alachua, again, a variety of different clients. See that they had a decent proven track record. So I gave them a 28 on past performance.
I also concur with that. I also give them 28. I thought the layout of the past clients and was nicely done. I think that the history and experience in Florida is quite impressive. So I also gave them 28.
I also gave them a 28 to the points you both made about past experience with other clients within Hillsborough County and also with other local governments. So I gave a 28 as well. And since we all gave 28, then it's easy to say the consensus is 28. So with that, we can move on to perspective approach, again, out of 30 points.
So for me, I scored the 25. I gave them 26 on this, and I thought the approach is good. I just would have liked to see a more defined time period through which we could, the strategic approach that presented is fine. I mean, we certainly can come collaboratively to some sort of strategic direction together, but the time period was missing from it. But I like the approach, and either way. But the score is 26 for me.
My score on perspective approach is 25. Similar to Ramin, I thought the approach appeared adequate for what the county was asking for. I did like the fact that they touched on all of the primary points of concern for our county in terms of transportation, public safety, flood mitigation, coastal storm risk. So they hit on all of those primary points, but for some of the same reasons that Ramin had mentioned, I scored it a 25.
For this section, I scored it a 28, again, concurring with the comments you all made about a strategic approach towards advocating on behalf of the county. Before we come to a consensus score question for our procurement ladies, can it be a decimal or does it need to be a whole number? Whole number. Great.
I would be, if I can recommend maybe a point up for me, it's 27.
What was your score again?
Mine was a 28. We have a 25, a 26, and a 28. So I think consensus would probably be in the 26 to 27 range.
I could go with 27.
I think that's I'm comfortable with that. It's a good approach.
So our consensus on prospective approach would be 27. And those are the three categories for Alcalde and Fay. you guys do a recap or anything before we move on?
Well, Tracy, with your scoring for cost on a call in pay, you can announce that
Okay.
because that is a formula driven score or point value.
Okay, thank you. So the cost would, cost total be 6.32, so it is a decimal. So 6.32, and do I get a consensus for the total?
You can, okay.
So, and then there was, no points for, the bonus points for the, economic development, DM, DW, BE, SBS. Excuse me, bonus points, there were none. So the total I have that's 88.32.
88.32.
88.32 was the total for our call day and pay.
Right.
Yeah.
Are we ready to move on to the next?
Mhm.
Okay, great. So the second out of the 8 proposals we're going to be reviewing is from Ballard Partners. Again, we're going to be reviewing 3 categories: qualifications, past performance, and perspective approach, all out of a total of 30 points. So we will start with qualifications for Ballard Partners, if the committee would like to give their score and comment.
Well, wait, go ahead. I scored them at 25. I do think that, the firm possesses a strong team and, they're certainly qualified to perform our function. And they service a wide variety of clients and especially a lot in the private sector, but I would have liked to have seen a lot stronger emphasis on and examples in the governmental sector or comparable governments, similar to us. And that was kind of my only sticking point, going through that proposal for qualifications.
Madam Chair, you'd like me to go?
Yes.
I also thought that this is a highly qualified firm. I do agree with Carl. I think a few more examples would be helpful, but I think for me, the relationship, the level of relationship with the legislative and the executive branch, parent administration especially, was stood out and hence the high score, 28.
So this one, I gave a 15 out of 30, and noting that that is a medium score. It may sound like a harsh number, but looking at, high, medium, and low, that is a medium score. The reason I gave that score is because I found the proposal to be lacking in detail. It was very brief, and didn't give a lot of detail. And yes, it did give other clients they represent, in the form of, their logos and whatnot, but it didn't, to me, truly explain the successes they've had, the relationships they have, in a thorough way. Although I am familiar with the name. So I just wished the proposal had explained their qualifications more than it did and given more detail than it did. So with that, we have a 28, a 25, and a 15. I'm certainly willing to come up on that if we want to find a consensus number.
We're about 13 points up.
Yes. Come up to maybe the mid to low 20s, or would you all advocate for even more than that?
I would recommend, I would be at Carl's number 25. That's just my recommendation. You go with that?
That was my number anyway.
Okay. So the consensus number for qualifications on Ballard Partners will be 25. With that, we will go to past performance. I'll let the committee give their scores and comments.
I went with the 27. I do think in this category, and maybe to your point to the previous category, more detail would have been helpful. Clearly, there's well-supported claims in here for past performance, and it's very clear that the firm is very qualified and performance is solid, but I would like to see more more detail. I gave him 27.
Again, I gave them a score of 25. They did touch on some examples of previous work, like in Hillsborough with the Expressway Authority and Tampa General, and et cetera. But, again, I would like to have seen, in their references, they reference, some of our, smaller neighbors in Florida, Largo, Mountain County, Pensacola. I would have liked to have seen some more comparable references to, the size of Hillsborough County. So my score at that point was a 25.
And again, my score was 15, again, that being a medium score. And to the points we've already made about the past category and this one, I just wish I had seen more detail, more information about past successes and to the point Mr. Harness just made as well, comparable local government size success as well. So again, acknowledging that mine is quite off compared to both, well, not off, but just there's a gap. We have a 27, a 25, and a 15. We think a 25 would be a consensus, higher, lower, do you all think?
I recommended 25, but just for conversations, my number, I go with that.
Okay,
Are
so
you
we'll
comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Are you comfortable?
say 25 is the consensus for past performance for Ballard Partners. And then the final category, prospective approach, again, out of 30. I'll let you gentlemen give your scores.
Again, I'm in on 25 for that. I think, for all the proposals, the organizational approaches, were pretty much kind of the same. Some were more detailed than others, a lot more detail. And, again, I thought, for what they were offering, if their approach was adequate, services required.
So while some of the others mentioned working collaboratively with the county to come up with strategic sort of focus and direction, which I thought I do like. This firm did not directly articulate that, but it's implied. But I do like the two bullets that they provided us. The flyings and the hill days are helpful for county officials to arrive and then be introduced to meet directly with policymakers. I thought that was a good point to make. And also, if they can't make it, then the firm would represent the counties, which I suspect is the case with everybody else. But I did like that they actually pointed that out. But a little more detail would have been helpful. But I'm at 27 on that on this category.
I concur with both of your comments, including your comments about the bullet points about the fly-in day and the hill day. Those are valuable aspects to advocacy approach for the county. Consistent with my other sections, I also gave this a 15. Again, that being middle of the pack, it wasn't a lower score in my mind, but so with that, we have a 27, a 25, and a 15, where we've had these numbers in the past categories. We've come to a consensus at 25. Would we like to do that for this category or higher or lower, gentlemen?
Again, that'd be my recommendation.
Okay, so the consensus total on Ballard Partners for the third category of prospective approach is 25.
And the quote cost total, 5.83. Total would be 80.83.
Okay, thank you. We ready to move on?
Yeah.
The third proposal is Becker and Polyakov. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Again, we have the three criteria: qualifications, past performance, and approach, all out of 30 points. And we'll start with qualifications if the committee would like to provide their scoring comments.
I said, I'm highly qualified. I like the detailed presentation. I like the staff background as articulated in the proposal, and I was a 28.
I also landed on 28, thought they had a strong team, highly qualified to perform the work. And, just thought, the faculty's fit where we needed them to be. They've been in existence for quite some time, and, so, yeah, and then 28.
I landed on a 25, again, agreeing, and maybe my numbers are coming across a bit harsh, and I don't intend them to be. I found them to be very highly qualified, experienced. It was mentioned, the profiles of the main folks we would work with are very highly qualified in their work. So I gave a 25. That said, gentlemen, you both gave a 28, and I would certainly be willing to come up to a higher number. I don't know if 27 would be an acceptable consensus, or if you both want to stick with the 28.
27.
27? Okay, so the consensus is going to be 27. Moving on to past performance, a total of 30 points. Gentlemen, your scores and comments.
I scored them relatively high on this. I gave them 29, but their past performance is well documented. Wide variety of clients. They provided extensive government examples. So, I was pretty impressed with that section of the proposal.
Yeah, and likewise, I think that there's some key strategic areas that are really important to us in Hillsborough County, and they seem to have good experience and actually performance in those key strategic areas. So I'm a 28.
I find them to have excellent past performance as well. Again, a 25, and as I said, I feel like I'm a harsh grader. I used to teach master's students, so maybe that's where that comes from. But with that, we have a 28, a 29, and a 25. So 27, 28. What do y'all think?
The biggest gap is 4. We split that to 2, and 27.
27? Okay, so
You're master's teachers.
yeah,
Try to get it.
I'm a tough grader apparently.
27.
27. And then the third category, perspective approach, again, out of 30 points. Gentlemen, what were your scores and comments?
So this is the one that stood out to me. There's a detailed 30-day approach and strategy development. I like that. So well done on that for what it's worth. I'm 28.
I ended up on 28 also. I thought, similar to what Ramin said, the organizational approach is very detailed. I like the way that they laid out their strategy or something.
I stuck with my 25, which again, in my world is a pretty good score. So, and concur with your comments. So with that, we have a 28, a 28, and a 25. Do we want to land on 27 again? 27, okay.
And the, we're gonna go with the quote cost total is 6.67. The total score will be 87.67.
Thanks. So moving on, the next group, I think we're at number 4 here, is Gray Robinson. Again, we have qualifications, past performance, and perspective approach. Out of 30, we'll start with qualifications, gentlemen.
I went with the 28. I think what stood out to me was the federal relationships that both on the legislative and the executive side that stood out to me. So I give them 28.
I landed at 27. Thought they had a strong team. presented, examples of numerous Hillsborough governmental clients, or courts, aviation authority, school board. So they have a strong presence here. So I had landed on 27.
I landed on a 28. I concur with both of your points. As outlined in their proposal, they're quite a large firm, and the team that they would have working with us is very qualified, but also referenced the ability to, use other advocates and folks in their team, which was helpful. And to your point as well about other clients in Hillsborough County, their knowledge of and connection to the area were beneficial. So I gave a 28.
So for 28, I think a little line of 28.
Okay, so the consensus is going to be a 28. Moving on to past performance.
Yeah, I was at 27. For me, again, they displayed a large variety of clients, large and small, very strong state presence, offices throughout the state of Florida. A lot of examples throughout, again, Riviera Beach, Tallahassee, Miami, strong public sector references. So I had landed on 27.
Yeah, likewise, as Carl articulated, I completely agree. I think the past performance is definitely laid out nicely. I also give him a 27.
I agree with you both, and I gave a 28. So since you both gave 27s, we could have the consensus be 27?
Yeah.
Yep, great. And then the third category is perspective approach, John.
So here's where it was a great score, I think. It's 25 for me, but I think a team-oriented, tailored approach to meet our needs was good to see. And I thought that's nicely laid out. Again, a time period in which we could work together to develop that. I didn't see it. So I would have liked to see it that time frame. But nevertheless, it's a great approach, and it's 25 for me.
As with, the other proposals, I thought the organizational folks was, adequate, more than adequate for what we were requiring for them to do. So I had landed on a 27 for this one.
I landed on a 28 for this. I appreciated the various status reports they would give, the regular contact emails, etc., the reporting, both information obviously directly related to our Hillsborough County issues, but also keeping us in the loop with their newsletter type material, grant heads up type material. So I gave a 28 for those because I liked that multifaceted approach, that it isn't, obviously there are the things we have on our legislative agenda that we're looking out for, but those other communications to me allowed us to maybe have information that we didn't know we were looking for, but could end up benefiting. So with that, we have a 25, a 27, and a 28. Could 27 be a consensus? 26,
I could come up to 26 on this, yeah.
26, 27.
I was at 27, so close to 26. We're at 28.
I was at 28,
27 then.
27. Okay. And that completes our three categories for Gray Robinson, Tracy.
Yes, for the cost total, it's going to be a 10. And that makes the total at 92.
The next group is the Pittman Law Group. Again, three categories: qualifications, past performance, prospective approach, out of 30 total. We'll start with qualifications, gentlemen. Don't all talk at once.
I I didn't, I would have liked to see more detail. Maybe it's me. I didn't see much detail. But certainly I thought the legislative relationships were quite positive and nicely laid out. And so based on that, I alone and some of the language that's in the proposal, like give them a 23, I would like to see more detail there.
I'll probably be skewed a little bit. I give them a 27. You know, I thought that, you know, they were well qualified. Again, they provided, you know, numerous examples throughout the state of different size governments that they worked with. Would have liked to have seen some more examples, you know, closer to home. But they've been around for a while, so you know, I landed on 27.
Here comes in my harsh grading again. I gave a 15. Again, that is a moderate, middle of the road score, not meant to be a poor score at all. And to the points you both made, I just wish there was a little more, and I believe they have strong experience in Tallahassee. I wanted to see more at the federal level, which is what this RFP is ultimately for. So I know my 15 is out of step with where the consensus is going to be. So we have a 23 and a 27. What do y'all think? There's good steps between all three of them, honestly.
I'm recommending 23, but
23?
see.
Okay, the consensus is a 23. Next is past performance, gentlemen.
Well, I thought in this category, I thought the performance in past jurisdictions in Florida looked good. I also like the performance in Kansas. I know it's a different state, but I thought it was relevant, and I'm glad they put that in. Let's do that to me. So give them a 25.
I again give them 27. I thought sort of read, you know, the past performance in Florida was strong, a variety of different clients, good public sector references. So I made 27.
And I landed on my 15 again, just there was more success and past performance at the federal level demonstrated in the proposal. And as we were, you know, reviewing this and reviewing other proposals, I just wish there had been more federal level successes, as that's what we're reviewing for, is federal lobbying services. So we have a 15, a 25, and a 27. We want to go with the 25 or higher, lower?
That's math. I mean, if you split the biggest gap is 12, that would be 6 points. That brings them up to 21, but our lowest point is 25. So you want to stay at 25?
I'm fine with 25. I realize I'm a harsh grader. And this is why you're here for me, to do all our maths.
I get it. Just on board with that.
The third category, perspective approach.
That consensus.
Oh, the consensus was 25, sorry. And the third category, perspective approach, out of
Again, I landed on 27 and get out their operational approach was adequate with what we were asking. Right?
I think I must have used your keyboard in this one. I landed on 15. I didn't see a strategic approach or a timeline. Maybe I'm willing to take another look, but I just didn't see one articulated. So I ended up on 15.
And there's my 15 again. I guess maybe we came and guest spoke at my class that night. So with that, we have two 15s and a 27. That is a big gap.
So we're off by 12, right? Willing to offer the split of 21.
21 sounds good. Okay, so the consensus is 21. So those are the three categories for Pittman. And Tracy, you're up.
Yes, okay, so the quote cost is 7.2. There's 5 bonus points given. The total is 81.2.
Tracy, will you speak to the bonus points, what they were for the record?
The bonus points was for the economic development, the I have to read it all the way out, BM, BWDE, SBE bonus points. So that's where the 5 points were given, the bonus points.
Thank you, Tracy. Okay, our next proposal is Potomac Partners. Again, 3 categories: qualifications, past performance, perspective approach, all out of 30 points. So we will start with qualifications.
If I may go first, so I'm landed on it's 28. I think with legislative relationships and federal experience was stood out to me as pretty strong.
Likewise, I landed also on the 28, but I did well. Qualified team, strong familiarity with Tampa region, strong background in some of the things that we're very much interested in, i.e. transportation, infrastructure, and, that sort of thing. So, again, similar to Ray, we're being at 28.
And I concur with all of your comments and landed on a 25, which was good for me. So we have 2 28s and a 25. Would you all be comfortable with a 27?
Yes, sure.
There'll be a 27 for qualifications. Past performance.
I was, again, for some of my comments before, I was relatively high on that. I ended on 29, but, in this area, the proposal was well structured, aligns very well with a lot of the county priorities and interests. Again, transportation issues and construction issues. Some of the primaries, I guess, that were with a former firm, I had a lot of familiarity with the city of Tampa, aviation authority, et cetera. So again, strong ties to the area here and familiarity with some of our critical issues.
I completely agree. I thought the layout categorically was really nice to see. Transportation, infrastructure, water, environment, Army Corps, budget appropriations, healthcare. I think the way that they articulated those categories that are important strategically to this program, in my opinion, but that was nicely done. So I thought that was well done. So I gave them a 25.
I gave them a 25 as well. Again, that's great score for me. So they clearly are well qualified, of extensive past performance successes. And to the point that was made about how well it was laid out and organized, I appreciated that as well. So we have 2 25s and a 29. 27 for me?
Yes, ma'am.
That's good. 27 was the consensus. Okay, the third category, perspective approach. Again, out of 30 points, gentlemen.
Again, I landed on a 29. I thought they provided a nice high level of detail. For me anyway, responses seemed to be very well targeted. What really stood out to me was the future meeting planning element of what they described in their code. So that's why I ended up with that score.
I agree with that. I particularly like the 60-day action. I like that timeframe, a timeframe. I give them 27.
I gave them a 20. I thought that the approach that they outlined for appropriations was excellent. But I was hoping for a little bit more. I know you mentioned the 60-day plan, but just a little more in their approach and their structure to working county staff. Was a little lacking for me. So we have a 27, a 29, and a 20. Understanding I'm out of step with my harsh grading. We want to come to a 27, 26.
I see, I can agree to 26.
I can go with 26.
26. Includes the three categories that for the total first.
And the cost, the quote cost total is 6. And that makes the total at 86.
Okay, 2 left. The next one we're going to be reviewing is the reserve component. Again, 3 categories: qualifications, past performance, and prospective approach out of 30 points. Whoever wants to jump in and start on qualifications.
I liked the individual qualifications that they listed. I thought this were impressive. Overall, I give them 23.
I thought they had solid qualifications. I listened to 26.
I gave a 20. I think they certainly have experience in advocacy. They're a small firm, so we can be a big client, and other clients can be big clients as well. So, but they absolutely have solid experience in advocacy. So with that, we have a 20, a 23, and a 26. Seems like 23 would probably be the consensus.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So 23 is the consensus on qualifications for the reserve component. Next, we'll do past performance.
Score could have probably been lower. I give them 26. And reason being, I just needed a little more. It just seemed that, the Florida experience is a little more minimal than I would have liked. So I would have liked to have seen a lot more examples there, but I ended on 26.
Likewise, I would have liked to see more detailed listings of past performance. I didn't see as much depth. But I give them 20.
I gave it 20 as well, and to echo both of your sentiments and my previous comments, I just didn't see the depth of past experience, past performance with large organizations like ours. A couple smaller municipalities you mentioned were great, but Hillsborough County is a good sized organization, so I gave it 20. So we have a 20, a 20, and a 26. We want to go with a 23 again? 22?
23.
23? Yeah, so the consensus is 23 under past performance for the reserve component. And then the last category is prospective approach.
So there's your keyword again in my office somehow. I have to say, I didn't see if one was even articulated. There's a communication plan, I think that's articulated, but I wasn't sure if that can replace or augment an actual approach, technical approach. So I'm a 9, but I could be talking to coming up.
Sure, our big discrepancies in the meeting.
Yes.
I know they, like you said, laid into the communication plan a little more, I thought basically it was asking for what we were looking at, and ended up 27.
I'm at 20, kind of middle of the road. Ramin, thanks for not having me be the mean one this time. I concur with both your comments that it was kind of basic, simple. And again, I go back to my previous comments about we are a very large, complex organization. And I think, our needs can be large and complex as well.
I can come up with 20 and meet you at the 20.
So the consensus is 20 for perspective approach for the reserve component.
The total cost, total is 6. The total would be 72.
I think we're finally at the home stretch, gentlemen. And thank you, everyone in this room and that's helping us online for your time with this. It's very important to the county, so just appreciate you being here. So our final one is Thorn Run Partners. Again, 3 categories: qualifications, past performance, perspective approach out of 30 points. So we'll start with qualifications.
I thought highly qualified, actually, the legislative and executive branch relationships especially stood out to me. So I like that. I gave them 27.
I had given them a 29. I thought they were highly qualified. Actually, served the county well in the past. I'm very familiar with the county, so
I landed on a 28. I concur. Not only do they seem to be a large, well-connected, well-developed legislative team, but their knowledge of the Hillsborough County issues and our legislative program gave a great level of qualification. So we have a 27, 29, and 28. Do we want to agree to a 28?
Yeah.
28 it is. Next is past performance.
again, I thought they were highly qualified. Their past performance was very detailed in the proposal. I think they have a strong strategic understanding of, county appropriation needs. So I had landed on a 29.
Yeah, completely agree. The past performance is directly attributable to Hillsborough County. So that's impressive, and then 28 for me.
Concur with both of you, and I gave a 30 because their past performance, both as they demonstrated with other organizations, other local governments, but also with us directly, has been excellent. So we have a 28, a 29, and 30. Do we want to agree on 29? 29. And the final category, perspective approach.
I thought their approach was well documented in relation to what we're requiring. I wanted to highlight, I like their influencer series, the influence series. I thought a neat thing, and again, just a detailed understanding of Hillsborough County's needs and their vast familiarity with us. So I ended up with 29.
Again, I agree. I'm 25. I would have been higher. I think the paragraph that they submitted was good. Paragraph reads, they begin by conducting a comprehensive update of the county's capital plan and federal priorities. We then would outline a strategic plan with sufficient flexibility, etc. I just would have liked to see a couple of words added to that paragraph. Maybe a collaborative approach, maybe jointly working with the county to establish a strategic focus. I think that would have, in my mind, given them a couple more points. But I just wanted to point that out, that I read that paragraph as a singular type of the firm would actually do that. But I'd like to see a more collaborative joint establishment of a strategy focus, but, so I'm a 25.
I gave them a 28. I thought their approach was comprehensive and like I had mentioned with another firm, I appreciated both the targeted Hillsborough County legislative agenda approach, but also the more general knowledge, keeping us in the loop of bigger picture and other things we should know about approach as well. So I gave a 28. So with that, we have a 25, a 28, and a 29.
25, 29, and 28, right?
Yes.
27.
27? Okay. The 27 is the consensus on Foreign Run Partners for prospective approach.
The full cost total is 6.67. The total would be 90.67. So that concludes everything. So that concludes the evaluation committee for the request for proposal RFP-25-00149. This, again, the information will be available. And if you have any questions, definitely through the bonfire portal to myself. Phone of silence still remains. Thank you all for attending, and sorry that we were running a little late. Thank you and have a good day.